On the right side of the screen there, getting set up, is Mr. Shea Foster. And we are here to talk about Wyoming's 32-7 defeat to Boise State. We welcome everybody who's in. We already have a chat. I'm just seeing this. Very good. Welcome in AJ Box, a new viewer, I do believe. So we are live on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and on YouTube. So if you are on X, you cannot interact, unfortunately, because of Elon's API fiasco, which many of you may be aware of. So head on over to YouTube, go to @WyoNation on YouTube, and there you can interact with us in the chat room, and you can have your comments, your questions. But Shea, welcome on in again. Thank you for joining us. I'll open the floor to you, just your general thoughts on what we saw in the blue turf today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Chad. I don't know. It's just lack of passion. The phases of the game don't compete. The media hypes the team up all year, and then they just kind of come out flat. But Bowl yells at his coaches, and then like Mike Grant always looks lost on substitutions. It doesn't give time Peasley to overlook the field, and then Peasley looked like the Illinois Peasley, and that's not the game he plays. And you got the worst passing defense in the conference, and you're trying to run it up the middle. I mean, what are we doing here? What happened to the New Mexico game plan? Go 7 for 7, get Peasley some rhythm, and then Whaley's going to break one,
Sure. So a lot to talk about there in terms of Wyoming's philosophy today. The numbers are really ugly. I don't know. Do we want to go through some numbers first, just to kind of couch this conversation as we analyze what we saw?
I'm not sure I got enough makers. I don't know if I got enough makers for these stats, but we might as well send it.
Sure. And I'm just looking at them. I just brought it up to the main game page here for the first time. And wow, these numbers are horrific. Might be some of the worst in the bowl era. And I'll double check that for Monday. But total yards, Wyoming outgained 443 to 112. I mean, you're not going to beat anybody doing that. Passing yards, 216 to 85. And now here's the kicker. Holy moly, I just seen this. You will never believe this. Rushing yards, 227 to 27. 27 rushing yards. Outrushed by 200 yards in a football game. And the score would reflect that, right? 32-7. Wyoming loses, and let me bring up. I had it. Where did it go? I closed it. Wyoming now falls to 17-1 all time against Boise State. They have one win in 18 tries now, which is just unbelievable.
I mean, Wyoming's pass protection today was amazing. And then you keep trying to throw it down, but Wyoming's interior of their line was getting pushed back. They were never down the field, or when they were down the field, they were looking like Stevie Wonder and not putting on blocks. It's just so frustrating that Bowl looks like the coach from Waterboy, where he's like getting owned and he just falls behind his players. It's like, what are you doing? And then your players have no passion. It's like they came out like last year's Illinois team. That's what it looked like as the Illinois game today. There was no heart. They were just throwing random stuff at the wall. And the Mountain West is just too good. And now it's like, is this Air Force game going to beat them the rest of the season? We called it early in the game, or earlier in our stream. This might be the 2008 Wyoming. They lose to a good TCU team, outplay them, and then they call it the rest of the year and 4-7. It's a danger because I just don't think Bowl's got the locker room right now, and the team captains definitely don't have the locker room. The team captains need to probably run some sprints in front of the team.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of things are possible. There's a lot of things to talk about coming off a bye week, And we have a lot of chats coming in here. So thank you, AJ Bucks. So let's just hit some of these. AJ Bucks, we mentioned earlier. We'll show his comment here. It says, the entire game felt hopeless, somewhat similar to last year's Fresno game. Sure. So welcome in, AJ. Then Brian Murphy, who has been on the stream before. Thank you for joining us on YouTube, Brian. Nothing worth rehashing. Terrible play all around, 10 years. Bull hasn't figured out how to beat this mediocre team. Well, I wouldn't call him mediocre, but he certainly hasn't figured out how to beat him. One win with Josh Allen in that, which was a magical game, but still, Wyoming can't solve the puzzle that is Boise State. And then Ian has been in the stream before. Welcome back again, Ian. He says, Wyoming was expected to be in the top 25, yet they still can't beat Boise. And then he follows that up with, however, I'm calling for it next year. Wyoming will beat Boise. Okay. We'll bet it. Good luck. 1-17 tells you that that's a pretty bold statement. And then one more here for you, Shea. Clint, who's been in the stream before, says, woof, back to Boise in December again. Bummer. Glad to see you fellas coming back. Yes, thank you. Yep, sorry we had to take a couple weeks off. I was on vacation. And then, of course, after I got back from vacation, I got sick. Because I was in airports. And airports is where sickness is spread. So we're happy to be back. And happy to see you all. Unfortunately, we're not talking about Wyoming being a potential Mountain West title contender. I think, right, we had this critical 3-game stretch. We've now gone 1-2 in that stretch, and Wyoming's hopes to even make the Mountain West title game are now officially dead.
I don't know if officially dead, but because Boise still got Fresno and Air Force, but Fresno's got to drop one randomly.
Yeah, we have to win out now for sure to even have a chance with the crazy tiebreakers. So,
yeah,
but I don't know.
The team looked great against Air Force for a little bit, but God, it's like they didn't want to play today. I don't even know if they got on the plane.
Yeah. So let's get back to some more stats. They're ugly. I really can't believe this. Wyoming's longest drive of the day was 6 plays. 6 plays. That was the second drive of the game, which resulted in a punt. Wyoming's only touchdown came after the muff punt by Boise. It was a 1-play scoring drive, which went to Welch, I do believe. Or no, it wasn't Welch. That was
John Mike.
It was Gillenborg, exactly. Another tight end. A 1-play touchdown drive is the highlight of the game for Wyoming offensively.
Colby has that scoop, great fumble return and great fumble, for strip fumble by Jaden.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't try to throw it deep. You don't go for a kill shot. You bring in Asir Santi and Devin Body, and you don't even target them.
No.
Just throw it up down the middle to those boys. At least do something. Really change the momentum of the game, and Wyoming never went for kill shots. Boise tried to give them the game, and Wyoming was just like, we're good. Here we go. Up the middle pass, and punt.
Yeah, pretty bad. Let's look here. Go to game. As I said, individual stats. Wyoming, 24 rushes, 27 yards. I mean, that's incredible. 1.1 yards a carry for a team that hangs their hat on running the ball. So, again, I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
I mean, I think there was one play call I saw. I thought it was a great play call by Polasek. It was a draw. Whaley had some room, but Frank Crum was 10 yards down the field and even blocked the linebacker, and Whaley gets caught from behind. At least make a block, man. do something. Like Whaley gets space. It's just like the team took 2 weekends off. They took last weekend off, and Bowl talked a big game like he always does before this game. Said we had crisp practices, but I don't think they had good practices this week, judging by the team that came out on the field.
Yeah. And that's something that we've noted a lot. Or you have. I mean, you've said this team just doesn't. They say teams take on the personality of their coach, and Bowl is just he doesn't seem to be passionate on the outside, right? I mean, I believe he loves football, right? You can't be a coach his age and not love football, but I think maybe we just need to see a little fire from him, because all day today, every time they showed him, he was like a statue standing there. And the only time you saw him is where he'd be yapping at his coaches, but there was no like anger. I didn't see any anger.
Yeah. Hey, during the Texas Tech game, he showed like a smile and hugged his players. And Bowl talked about it when he had that big mass exodus. It's like he's going back to old Bowl. He doesn't want to be a player's coach. And, I don't know if that Air Force game took it out of him, or he's just, I don't know. Today when they scored that touchdown with John Mike, great pass, great play call. You should have been super excited and you should have been firing up your team, but he's just not a rah-rah guy. And maybe the players see that and they're like, well, I guess my coach isn't excited. We just scored. We're only down by a touchdown at the half. I think maybe we're looking good, but maybe Bowl, it is a reflection of Bowl. Be like, hey, let's be excited for once. It's okay to be happy.
Maybe,
right?
Yeah.
And maybe grab Mike Grant by the headset and say, if you keep messing up substitutions, you can stay on the tarmac.
Brian has another comment. Says Bowl is just cashing in his paycheck before retirement. And maybe. I don't know. So we'll bring it up. I don't really want to, because people call me a negative person anyway. But I was really surprised that Bowl didn't receive a contract extension this summer, because now his final contract is for 2024. So really, this offseason, it's got to be quick. They either got to extend him right away, announce that he's going to retire after 24. He's not going to get fired. And I'm not calling for him to be fired. People think that I'm like, let's fire him. No. But he needs, obviously, right? We've been re-engineering, fixing. We've been looking at the offense for years now, and it keeps getting worse. The offense keeps getting worse. The more time they put into fixing the offense, in quotes, the worse it gets. So something's got to give. And I don't know. Maybe we're looking at a retirement announcement at the end of this season. That's my guess, because I don't see how you can extend him at this point in time. But, that's a big conversation that I just threw out there, a big talking point, but maybe your thoughts on the situation.
I think he retires. Either he retires this year or he retires next year. I don't think his system is bad, per se. He just doesn't put enough wrinkles in his system. He's stuck in his way. Honestly, I'd love to see like Shannon Moore get a shot at a head coach. The tight ends always come to play. They always look good. They get separation on the ball. They seem to love him. Or even Gordy. I don't know. It's very frustrating to watch. Bowl's entire staff has switched over except for Grant.
Sure.
And the only reason Grant got the job is because Kenny was out messing around.
Sure.
So and now he's an associate head coach.
Passing game coordinator.
Yeah. Well, no, even Kenny's a associate head coach at a big program.
Oh, I got you. I mean, what do you mean?
But yeah, you're passing game coordinator and your receivers will get zero separation. Nair talks about it openly that Trey Smith's dad is coaching him.
Yes.
Not Mike Grant. And you're like, well, then why are we paying this guy to be the receivers coach and the passing game coordinator?
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, he's still a public I hate the word servant, but he's still paid for by the state. You know,
Yeah,
at what point do the fans get a voice and be like, "Hey, this guy is not cutting it. There's better coaches out there."
there has to be. No, and I've had the same conversation. So I've talked to a lot of sources, let's just say, who said the same exact thing as you just said. So it's sad, really. It is, but yeah. So we'll see. So we're at a crossroads here. We'll see what happens, but right. And people criticize me, but I'm not the one who I didn't expect Wyoming to be a Mountain West contender because I saw the flaws of this team, especially on offense. But when Bowl comes out and says those things, okay, well then now I'm going to hold you to that standard, right? And they failed that test now. Maybe not officially. You're right. I mean, they may be able to win out and sneak in, but you've lost 2 out of 3 to the probably 3 of the best teams in the league, and now you don't control your destiny. You could win out and maybe sneak in, but there's a lot of concern from what we've seen here. And now we're obviously headed into the border war next week on a short week with a Friday night game.
Yeah, and CSU's taking it toe-to-toe with Air Force right now.
Yeah, let's look that up really quick.
It was 13 at the half.
Yeah, I saw it was halftime. Let's just see.
But Wyoming should have won that game. When they had that fumble, Bull went conservative. He's like, I'm just going to kick this field goal. We'll call it. I'm like, no, go for a kill shot.
Let's go to the
Air Force is up.
Really quick. There it is. I see. Yeah. I clicked too soon. Well, it took me to NBA scores. I didn't click that.
AJ Bucks came in with the Air Force is up 20-13 now.
Okay, thank you.
I think Air Force is going to run away with it.
Thank you. We have excellent viewers. Thank you, AJ Bucks.
But I think the team's got to get on the plane tonight and really have some self-reflection. You know, Peasley's out there like throwing a temper tantrum. And you're like, come on, man. You can't throw behind your receivers. Your receivers aren't getting open, but when they are open, they're dropping passes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Gunnar Gentry, the pass he dropped tonight was inexcusable. That was actually a great pass by Peasley. It was away from the defender. It was low and away, no danger, and then you drop it.
Yeah. Yep, and so as Brad and I talked about before, right, this offense is fine, but you have to play at such a high level. There's no margin for error. And that's the problem. If you want to play this way, I'm fine with it. That's your decision as the coach. But the margin for error is so low. And they pass that error way too often, especially against good teams. And we'll get to that. I got the new numbers. But yes, AJ Bucks. 13. CSU has got the ball at their own 31. We are halfway through the third quarter, and that game is on CBS Sports. So
Air Force.
Air
Force looks at that as a rivalry game too. They look at CSU as a rivalry game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it is 100%. I think they even have a trophy. Hold on,
I don't know about that.
Let me verify that. I think there is it's like a Ram Hawk trophy. Hold on. I think maybe I'm making that up, but I think they play for a trophy.
I mean, Wyoming's fan base is going to look like CSU's fan base in the stadium on a Friday night game in Wyoming
Air Force game
in November.
Let's check this out. I think they play for a trophy. Maybe not. Maybe I made that up. I typed in trophy and something's popping up. Let me go back. I thought it was called the Ram Hawk Trophy or something like that. Yeah, AJ Bucks agrees with me. He says he's heard it. Let's see here. There is a trophy. It's called the Ram Falcon Trophy. So he's right. Yeah. The Rams, so they do play for a trophy.
We'll see if Wyoming wants to play for a trophy next weekend.
We'll see. At home, you'd think so. Friday nights.
Some passion. Show some
We'll
heart
talk
for
about
once.
that. But yeah, coming off 2 tough losses now in a row, we're going to really see what Wyoming's all about.
I will say, I think Wyoming's probably the most talented team in the Mountain West. They just don't fire on all cylinders.
Really?
Like Wyoming's defense played pretty good today for a bit. But then they just get worn down because your offense doesn't show up. And then Fresno State, Wyoming's offense shows up for a half. And then the defense has to carry them in the second half, and Wyoming's offense just disappears.
Yeah, it's that whole complete game type of thing.
No complete game. And
Yeah.
I'm sure Clayton Stewart's a good kid and a great young man, but man, he has been so inconsistent and has put in Wyoming defense in a lot of bad positions. Like the wind behind you and you punt at 34 yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal. I guess while we have the stats here. So now this is a moving number, and I recalculated these. I need to put them in a spreadsheet along with my yards per pass attempt. I need to update that. Obviously Wyoming lost that today. Let me verify this. Oh yeah, big time. Same number of passes. So Wyoming threw 21 passes, had 85 yards. Boise had 21 passes, 216. So Wyoming got destroyed in the yards per pass attempt. And people laugh at me for the yards per pass attempt, but when Wyoming wins the per yards per pass attempt, they win at a 75% clip. But when they lose it, they win at a 25% clip under Bowl. So it's a clear stat that has 10 years of data under it now. But also does winning versus losing teams. Now, granted, people, when I was mentioning this on Twitter, people were saying, well, Boise's not a winning team. But so this stat is kind of fluid in the season. It takes into account the win or loss at the end of the season. I'm pretty sure Boise will have a winning record at the end of the year. But these numbers are similar to the yards per pass attempt. Under Bowl, Wyoming is 16-41 against teams with a winning record at the end of the year. And then with a losing record, he's 32-16. So basically, he's building his subpar record against bad teams. And so he has 0 years where he has a winning record against winning programs, which is a really big red flag to me 10 years into your program.
Yeah, he's really good about padding his stats. And now looking at the Texas Tech win, it looks pretty bad. The App State win looks bad because they lost to Old Dominion, my hometown team out here, who's terrible. Terrible. And Peasley has an Illinois game against them, but thank God the defense and special team shows up. But, God, just one time, just show some pack. And maybe you're right. The team looks at it and Craig doesn't have passion. He isn't excited on the sidelines, and he needs to be that type of coach, even in his older age. Joe Tiller was like that until the day he ended at Purdue. He was a rah-rah coach. He's not like a super rah-rah coach even at Wyoming, but he still loved his players and always told them, you're doing great. We're going to get this. And you're like, God, maybe that's what the players need to hear.
Maybe.
I don't know. If I see one more delay a game or Peasley gets 5 seconds to overlook the field because Grant can't get a substitution in.
Yeah. No, that's the big thing I noticed too. Not so much today, but I kind of, I wasn't paying too close attention to it once the score got out of hand. But during the Air Force game, for sure, and especially during crunch time, yeah, when you're getting the play in, for Peasley to be successful, he needs time. He's I don't know what's the right term, right? But he's kind of a slow processor, let's say, right? And when you get the play in, and that's what killed us at the end of the Air Force game is they were getting the play in with like 5 seconds left, which gives him no time to do anything but to just snap the ball. You got to get the play in so Peasley can have 10 to 15 seconds to overlook things because obviously I think that gives him a better chance to be successful.
You know, I noticed Wyoming didn't spread too much today, but Peasley's a really good spread quarterback because the spread, takes away some deficiencies of quarterback talent. And maybe just go back to spread offense for Peasley. Let him look at the game differently, go to zone blocking, and let Harrison just kind of eat up holes because he's just a good quarterback or a good running back.
Sure.
And then let your receivers just kind of run a different game because whatever game's happening, at the second half of the Fresno game, something happened and the boys just are not getting open. Fresno State, they weren't getting the tight ends were wide open all game, but the receivers have never been open all year.
Mm-hmm.
The tight ends are there, but the receivers aren't. You got a guy like Alex Brown who's got a ton of speed.
Yeah.
Never open.
Supposed to be our number one wide receiver, and I think he's got, oh my goodness, let's look it up here really quick. He didn't have a catch today, I don't think.
He was at least target.
He's got 3 catches on the year. The guy who was labeled as your number one wide receiver. He's got 3 catches on the season. Had none today. Oh, no, he had 1. Sorry. So he's up to 4 catches on the year. Your number one wide receiver, supposedly. He's got 4 catches on the year. I mean, that's ridiculous.
They brought Tanner in before the Fresno game. Maybe just bring him in as the wide receiver coach.
Sure, why not? Can't do worse than Grant.
I mean, watching Grant coach it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating because the team is clearly talented. But coming off a bye week, I mean, this just looked bad today.
Really bad. Yeah.
And the fans can't have more passion to the team, and that's very frustrating. And then, Berman just, you can't question Bull, but he's the highest paid coach in the Mountain West. And every other team that's been a doormat has been in the Mountain West title. San Jose State won the title, and they are terrible.
Sure, yeah. Let's see.
Wyoming's offensive line today just looked terrible. I mean, awful. They were standing up on every play. They stood straight up. And on pass protection, I guess you're good. But on run blocking, you can't be standing straight up. And Boise's offensive line, who isn't that good, is just blasting this elite defensive line of Wyoming down the field.
They were. Yeah, I agree.
We talked about, Devon Harris has just had a magical season. But Harsh and Siders and Goodbow and Bernoulli, none of them had great games. They got talked up all year of how great they are. And now it's like, well, you got to put the media's got to catch up, You got to play to like these media stories, and Cody Tucker's wrote great stories about them. But at some point, you got to play to that level.
Sure. Let's see here. Just trying to see if there's anything coming out. I think we're good. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Yeah, just very disappointing. And, but, the good news is there's a lot of winnable games left, but the question is, can they respond after 2 tough losses here? Just to remind you, we still have, so next week we'll be hosting CSU, and then we go to UNLV, Y at home, and then at Nevada.
I mean,
So-
Wyoming can win out and then just kind of hope.
You
I mean,
could.
they hope their way in the last Mountain West championship game.
Sure. So, I mean, it's still there. You could win 4 and hope that chaos happens, but yeah. The problem is you just can't let this Boise loss be another loss. So I think we'll learn a lot about how they respond at home against Colorado State. I wish that it was on a Saturday. So we'll see how much the short week affects them. Not a big fan of that. And I even said that at the beginning of the year because it does a disservice to the fans, first of all, having CSU being a Friday night game. But as we've stated before, Bjorn, here, you have no say on your schedule. And you do what TV says to make your, get your little tokens that they give you. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, CSU is a beatable team. Hopefully, we'll see some passion. I was trying to see if there's any quotes yet from Bowl. Kind of curious to see what he had to say, but we'll have to check that out. But what I've noticed of late is when they lose, they don't post the post-game press conference until 2, 3, 4 days later.
I was hoping for a Davis Potter moment. What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, at least the boys, kudos to the Wyoming media, Alex and Ryan and Cody, because they are pretty blunt with both. They ask some good questions and they don't hold back.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I don't know. You get on the plane and tomorrow you got to get back to practice. It's a short week.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if they'll practice tomorrow, but they'll certainly be looking at film, and the coaches will have to start game planning tomorrow. And they probably did some during the bye week, obviously, right? They probably did.
Yeah.
A little.
Wyoming can't convert third downs, and they can't get teams off on third down. That's their problem.
Yes. Today, horrific. 1 of 11 for Wyoming, 8 of 14 for Boise. So, yeah, you're not going to beat anybody going 1 and 11 on third down. As we saw, 6 plays was your longest drive. It's just not ideal.
The defense is just smoked at that point.
So, but we'll see. I mean, you got 5 wins. You got 4 left. You can still easily get a 7 or 8 win season here, which would have met most people's expectations. But as I said, the problem I have is when Bull is running his mouth about it's time to put pelts on the wall. Okay, I don't believe you can, but when you start running your mouth like that, then that's how you get judged. And so it's been a failure because you just lost. You had your 2 most important games, and now you've lost them.
Yeah, you had to go 2 and 3 in this stretch, and then you go 1 and 2, and your second loss. It's like your team doesn't even want to play anymore. It wasn't even competitive. If it would have been competitive, probably different. And they gave it their best,
Sure, but yeah, it was never competitive.
Game didn't even show up. Yeah, the team didn't even show up. Hopefully Buck Coors is back because that kid just plays with a ton of passion. I didn't even see him today.
No, I just brought up the defensive stats. He didn't have a tackle. I don't know if he played. That means he may not have. But Gibbs had 11 total tackles. Let's see. No sacks for Wyoming. No interceptions. 1 forced fumble by Eckler.
Oh, that was Jaden Williams. That wasn't Eckler. Jaden Williams got that fumble.
Did he? He forced the fumble. Okay.
He forced the fumble. Eckler was there, and then Colby picked it up.
Okay. Well, the official stats have Eckler as forcing that fumble. So we'll see. Maybe they'll change that. And they have Johnson and Taylor as your fumble recoveries, with Taylor with the excellent 40-yard return, which they squandered, of course. But yeah, that's basically where we are. Let's see. Brian's got another comment. Devon Harris tweet said he forgot his goggles and had to wear regular specs. Okay, they were mentioning that on the telecast, on the TV copy. They were pointing out that, hey, usually you see guys wearing the goggles, so that's pretty funny. I didn't know that was Harris who wears goggles.
Yeah, they call them speed goggles.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a good game. He's had a good season all around.
Let's see here. They have Brian also chimes in. Sorry, I just saw this. No, that's the wrong one. What's it doing? Air Force just scored again. It's now 23-13 Zoomies over the Sheep, as we have 2 minutes and 3 seconds left in the third quarter. So, again, Air Force is still undefeated, and more than likely going to breeze their way into the title game. Maybe against Boise, maybe against Fresno. We'll see. Well, no, probably not getting. Well, Boise still only got one conference loss, so they're still alive. So that, as you said, that Boise-Fresno game is going to be very key. Let's see when that is. Let me just bring up.
Yeah. Boise has to lose twice in conference. Wyoming has to win out. Boise has to lose twice, and Fresno has to lose once.
Yeah. So it's next week. November 4th is Boise at Fresno.
Yeah, so Fresno's got to win.
That'll be a big game.
Maybe UNLV will upset Fresno tonight.
So, yes, I was going to get to that. A very late schedule in the Mountain West tonight. Wyoming's the only final. Of course, Air Force is winning 23-13 against Colorado State, but we've got 3 more games tonight. 2 games at 8:30. You got New Mexico, Nevada, and UNLV Fresno, which are both 6-1. Actually, UNLV is undefeated in Mountain West play, and Fresno is 2-1 with their loss to Wyoming. So I might watch that. That might be pretty good. And then tonight, late on the islands, you got San Jose State at Hawaii. So that's what the Mountain West looks like for the rest of the day. And yeah, AJ says Wyoming has to win out. Yeah, they do. And it's possible they could. If they respond, they could very well win out and give themselves a chance. So that's what I guess the Wyoming fans have to hope for. So we'll see. So I don't really have much more to say, Shea. Do you have any final thoughts as we wrap up this post-game show?
I don't. We'll see how Wyoming responds this week. Maybe have some sources feed in to say the team responded or has another players-only meeting. We'll see what happens.
Here we go. AJ has his math. Says Fresno has to lose 1. UNLV has to lose 2. 1 against Wyoming. Boise has to lose 2. It seems like a pretty uphill battle. Seems pretty tough, as we said. So Wyoming had their chance. They had control of their own destiny, and now they have lost it. So, all right. Well, Shea, thank you very much for joining us. And thank you to everybody with their comments. AJ, Brian, Clint, Ivan. Very great to see you all. Hopefully Brad and I will be back this week with a roundup, and we will look forward to the border war. We'll have a lot of information about what has been said in the post game tonight. We'll see whatever tidbits come out, and then we'll look forward to the border war, which is obviously very important to everybody. And I guess I should mention this. I will tweet this out, but I have during the week but there is a company that makes replica rivalry trophies. And this last week, they did finally release the bronze boot. So you can buy, I think for like $25, you can buy like a 3 or 4 inch bronze boot replica. But if you want to go full school, and I forget how much the price is, it's over $100, but you can buy a full size replica of the bronze boot. So I will tweet that out. It's pretty cool. I'll probably get me a small one. I don't need a full size bronze boot, but this company is pretty cool. They got some of the best rivalry trophies throughout all college football that you can buy replicas of, and they finally just released the bronze boot. So I'll be sure to tweet that out as much as I can this week. And yeah, it'd be cool to have a bronze boot around. What do you think, Shea, about that?
I'll put it in my son's room. I'll maybe get a little trophy.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you again, Shea. Excellent job as always. And thank you to everybody for joining us. This has been the WyoNation postgame show. We will see you all soon.